Today, we're going to talk about how to improve your freight broker sales conversions by up to 270%. And it's using a strategy and a technique that I've used very heavily throughout my career. And it's a strategy and a psychological phenomenon called social proof. Now, let me explain to you what that means. And I'm going to give you the official definition here because I don't want to bungle it up. But the official definition is social proof is a psychological phenomenon where people conform to the actions of others under the assumption that those actions are reflective of the correct behavior. Marketers and salespeople use social proof as a tactic for conversion rate optimization by easing the mind of worried customers. So ultimately, you've seen it before. Our entire world, whether you're on Amazon or Facebook or anywhere online, is driven by reviews, right? So you always look at people's reviews before you buy. As a consumer, that's very common. But something you're probably not aware of is that that type of social proof is extremely powerful in B2B. So as a freight broker or a freight agent, you really need to be leveraging social proof. So ultimately, I'm going to share with you a quick stat about B2B and how it relates to social proof. All right. Company decision makers are easily influenced by social proof. Studies show that 92% of B2B buyers are more likely to purchase after reading or watching a trusted review. Listen to that. Pay attention. Digest that. 92% of B2B buyers, which is what shippers are, right? Shipping managers, traffic managers, logistics managers, everybody you're selling to as a freight broker is a B2B decision maker, okay? Are more likely to purchase after reading or watching a trusted review. Extremely powerful. This is not I didn't put this study together. This is an independent study put together, right? And reviews can increase conversion rates by up to 270%. That's what studies show. All right. So that's the reason for the title today of how to improve your freight broker sales conversions by up to 270% is because this data was collected independently. This isn't something that I'm making up or pontificating on. Social proof as throughout the B2B industry, whether you're selling or marketing in B2B, is an extremely powerful strategy and tactic. Now, on a personal level, I've been using social proof for well over 20 years, right? Even before my logistics business, I was using social proof. Let me tell you a quick story, and then I'm going to share with you a few strategies on exactly how to do that. Actually, I'm going to share the strategies with you first, and then let's talk about that story that you're really not going to want to miss because it illustrates exactly how I was able to do it and how you would be able to do it as well. So I'm going to tell you, there are many ways to demonstrate social proof, but I'm going to share with you 3 that I think are very easy for you and will convert very highly. The first is a written testimonial letter. So if you can get one of your customers, one of your shippers, and if you only have one, get one of your customers or shippers to write a testimonial letter on their letterhead or in an email format, whatever you can, preferably on their letterhead. And then they can scan that and send that to you. That testimonial letter, all you're asking them to do is to tell the truth. You don't want them to fabricate anything. You just want them to tell the truth about their experience with you. Hi, I've been doing business with Dennis at XYZ Logistics for X amount of time. The reason why we do business with him is because of this, this, and this. We really enjoy working with XYZ Logistics and highly recommend them. It can literally be that simple, right? It doesn't have to be overly complicated. And that can come in the form of a written testimonial, a letter that you can then scan and you can email or you can leverage in some digital format so that you can add that to your sales cadence, to your sales process, okay? The second way is a video testimonial, very much like I just did here on this quick Facebook Live. You heard me read a testimonial in video. Imagine the power of having your customer interfacing and talking directly to your prospect through a video format that is extremely compelling, right? The old adage, a picture is worth 1,000 words. If that's the case, then a video's got to be worth like 100,000 words, right? So So you have the written testimonial, which kind of looks something like this on their letterhead. And then you have a video testimonial that might be 60 seconds to 30, 60, 90 seconds long. Doesn't have to be long, but it tells the same sort of story. But it conveys that in a very different level, because video draws people in. People trust video, okay? And so it's a great way to build that know, like, and trust. And so that's the second one. And then the third one is what I call a case study. So for example, if you had a client XYZ, you've been working with them for a period of time, and you have helped them to solve a problem or to achieve a specific goal. You then highlight that company and you talk about the process that you went through and the benefit to the client. So let's say you're working in heavy haul and you had a huge project you were working on for this client, and here was the project, here were the challenges, and here was the results, right? And it could be something that simple, a one-page case study that talks about how you were able to help ABC company with this huge project. Or it could be any number of things, but a case study is typically a written document. Again, it's a written document. It's not a testimonial, but it highlights the value that you had specifically demonstrated for a particular client. And then sometimes you will actually include a short recommendation on there, a written recommendation from the actual shipper itself, showing their appreciation for helping to provide that value, solve that problem, or help them in whatever way you were able to help them, okay? So those are three ways: a written testimonial letter, a video testimonial, or a case study, okay? So those are the three strategies. Any of those can work really well. I love video, right? I think a video testimonial letter that's 60 seconds or 90 seconds long with a shipper that just picks up their cell phone, their iPhone or their Android phone, and just shoots a quick video. Doesn't need to be high production value. It doesn't need to be highly edited. It doesn't need any of that. Raw and real works, okay? You notice that, my wife yells at me because my bookshelves are a mess, and sometimes I have just some, kind of raggy t-shirt on. Here, you're not here for the decor. You're here for the content, right? And so production value I don't like to let production value get in the way of progress, right? So it's always progress over perfection. So when they're putting those testimonial letters together, or those videos together, or that case study, don't focus on perfection, focus on progress, right? And so those are a few strategies. Now, let me just tell you a quick story, okay? I'm going to tell you a quick story, and this might blow your mind, but this is 100% the truth. So back in 1998, I co-founded a software technology company during the dot-com era. And I'm going to give you the short version of this. We were selling software development and custom software to large brands, Fortune 1000 brands. Some of my clients were Anheuser-Busch, Coca-Cola, Marvel Comics, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, otherwise known as MGM, all kinds of, Capitol Records, Def Jam Records, all kinds of brands that you've probably heard of throughout your life, right? Fortune 1000 brands, that's who we sold to. And it was a very complex sale. And so it was sometimes very challenging to convert those prospects, because you're talking about sometimes a mid-5 to 6-figure sale. We weren't selling a $100 product. This was something where a small project was $10,000 or $20,000, right? A larger project might be 50 up to maybe a couple $100,000. And so we would use testimonial letters, and those worked really, really well. Back then, video was not as big, because we're talking about 1998, 99, 2000. Internet speeds were very low. So video wasn't, and we didn't have iPhones. We didn't have any of that, right? So video wasn't nearly as attractive. So we used testimonial letters, and they worked really, really well. But sometimes they just weren't quite enough. So let me tell you a strategy that I used that goes hand in hand with social proof. And maybe you'll even want to try it as kind of a bonus strategy after hearing this story. So I had a client that I had been trying to close the deal for, well over a month, right? We had went through the proposal. We had, I'd answered a gazillion questions. We had went through that entire sales process, and for whatever reason, this deal just wasn't closing. And I was talking to an existing client of mine about the scenario, and I asked him for a suggestion. I said, what do you suggest? What would help you? And he goes, Dennis, here's what all I want you to do. You get me, the client said this to me, my client told me this. He said, you get me on the phone with that prospect and let me tell my story. Let me tell him the reason why I do business with you and the reason why I trust you. And after that, if he doesn't do business with you, then just forget about him because nothing's going to work. And I said, you would do that? The gentleman's name was Tom. And I said, he goes, absolutely, I'll do that for you. And so I said, okay, great. So I set up a phone call between the two of them. They got on the phone. I remember we had an appointment, like a time scheduled when they were going to get on the phone. And the time came and went. And then all of a sudden, like 5 minutes later, I get a call from my existing customer, Tom. And he says, hey, I talked to the guy. Everything's great. He's going to do business with you. And my mind was blown. And I said to myself, what just happened? And he goes, yeah, no, he's, and I go, seriously? He goes, yeah. He goes, I just talked to him on the phone. And, you know, I answered a couple questions for him. I told him my experience, and he told me he's going to give you a ring. And then all of a sudden my other line started to ring. I had, you know, back then it was like a call waiting, a beep in, right? So it beeped in and I go, oh, all right, I'll call you back. So I hung up on Tom. I picked up the phone and I answered the phone, and it was my prospect. So I answer the phone as if I don't have this information because I don't want to kind of spill the popcorn in the lobby or seem over anxious. And the prospect called me up and said, hey, Dennis, I talked to Tom. Thank you so much. We're going to move forward with the deal. I'll have everything signed and we're going to start the process ASAP. And I was super excited, but I was really, after getting off that phone call, I had to kind of take a step back for a second and analyze what just happened. What happened? What was it that took this gentleman, this prospect, from being stuck in the mud and not moving forward for several weeks with the process to literally getting on a 5-minute phone call with somebody, with one of my customers, and then him calling me up 5 minutes later and saying, hey, we're going to move forward with everything. And I broke that down. And what I realized was that is another form of social proof. I could have easily sent a letter from Tom saying the same thing, and it probably would have had an impact, but it didn't have anywhere near the impact than it did with Tom then calling him and actually get on the phone for just a few minutes and sharing his experience. And so, as you can imagine, Tom became my favorite go-to for closing big deals. And we did it many, many, many times. He would get on the phone with different prospects and he would help me close those deals. So he would get on the phone in deals that had been stalled or really important deals or complex deals, and where I thought he could contribute. And he was more than willing to do it because we had a great relationship. He appreciated the relationship we had. Now, I didn't lean on it too much, but I leaned on it whenever I felt like I needed it and whenever he had the time. And I'm telling you right now, it literally 80 to 90% of the time when he got on the phone with a prospect, that deal closed. And so for me, it was a huge learning lesson in the power of social proof. And so from that point forward, I leveraged social proof in any format that I could, whether it be a written testimonial, video testimonial, a case study, or even getting one of my existing clients on the phone with a prospect that is just being held up. Now, you can't do that at the very beginning of a sales call. This has to be something where you've been moving through this process, you've went through the sales process, and for whatever reason, you're at the end of the process and you're just not able to close the deal. And so that's when you'll bring in kind of the big guns with your existing client and have them help you close that deal. So I hope you guys appreciate that story. And I hope you understand after this short training the value of social proof. And remember, there are 3 great ways to do it. I actually shared a 4th one. The first one was getting a written testimonial. The second one was getting a video testimonial. The third was getting a case study. And the 4th, which I just shared with you, a bonus strategy is to actually get one of your existing clients on the phone with your prospect and have them tell their side of the story. Because there's an old saying, one of my sales mentors, Jeffrey Gitomer, said this many, many years ago. When you say it about yourself, it's bragging. But when someone else says it about you, It's proof. So don't ever forget the power and value of leveraging social proof. So that's it for today. For those of you that are curious about becoming a freight broker or freight agent, and you're looking for some direction, you're looking for some training, you're looking for some support, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Check it out. We offer a couple different membership options. It's one of the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker training programs. Trained over 8,000 students over the last decade, and we offer a 60-day, 100% money-back guarantee. If you're not happy, we don't want your money. Okay, so feel free to check that out. Have an awesome day.